Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so talk about the Lakers a little bit because of course we ain't really been talking about the Lakers too much since they stopped playing last Thursday before the All-Star game. And it was a good break for me personally. I got a chance to just get up in the morning and not wonder if I had to make a video breaking down a game. Sometimes you just don't really feel like doing that. And so I thought the All-Star break was really good for a lot of us media people who had just been in a very consistent every other day schedule for the past, month, which is great for the players. I thought it was great for the team, but it just got a little repetitive to a point where it's like, damn, can I get a more than a one-day break? But we got that, and now it's time to get back to work. We got Thursday and Friday the Lakers play. We got the Warriors tomorrow, and then it's going to be Wemby and the Spurs coming in on Friday, and then we got the Suns coming up after that, the Clippers coming up after that, the Wizards coming up after that. I believe how that goes. Thunder, a few other teams as well. It might not be in that order quite, but that's really what we're looking at. And you know, I mean, it's important. It's an important stretch, a very difficult stretch, as you guys can clearly hear. The Suns and the Warriors coming up, and you saw how good the Lakers and the Warriors played in that last matchup, where it went into double overtime, one of the best games we've seen in years. Honestly, it was definitely the game of the year for me, although a lot of people think the Celtics game after that was the game of the year. It was not. It was most definitely that Warrior matchup for me. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Lakers maintain the consistency of the starting lineup that they were using prior to the All-Star break. Rui was the mainstay change. Everybody else, we know who they are: AD, Bron, Russell, and Austin. But given the fact that we were able to literally break team records, break a record that hadn't been seen since the, 93? Where all players in the starting lineup got 20 or more points. I think that's what it was. And then from there, we saw our team have a duo of Rui Hachimura and Anthony Davis go for 35 apiece, and that hadn't been done since Shaq and Kobe for the Lakers. So it's like when you have your team playing that well in the starting lineup and scoring really more than we have in a couple years, given the fact that we were a bad scoring team to start the season, and that small adjustment has made us into one of the better scoring teams in basketball. I don't think we should be adjusting out of that, especially since guys like Vanderbilt aren't back. He's the only other guy that I would otherwise want to throw back in that starting lineup. I personally think we've seen enough evidence to know that Taurean Prince is playing better in the secondary role. Now, if you want to move him back to the starting role, I don't expect for the same type of production. We didn't see it all year long, and most importantly, we weren't this great scoring team. We weren't a great defensive team when he was out there for the most part. So, for me, it's no reason for us, without Vando coming back, to be moving on from Rui Hachimura in that starting lineup. I don't desire to do that. And even if you have this idea that you want to move Cam Reddish back into the starting lineup for some reason, I don't think that would be a good idea at all. But in the event that I were to agree with you for whatever reason, I still don't think he should be coming into the starting lineup fresh off injury. Same with Max Christie if you're a Max guy. The starting lineup that we have should probably be the starting lineup we have for as long as we can keep our team healthy. And so that's where I'm at with it. And just be an offensive team, because we're winning that way. Defensively, we were a 500 ball club. Offensively, when we shifted to our offensive game plan, where we had those five out there, we've been beating the hell out of everybody. I mean, we basically beat everybody in front of us with that starting five. It worked in the playoffs last year, as Rui Hachimura mentioned in one of his press conferences. I don't know why we would audible away from Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup at this point. I don't see any reason to do that. Now, of course, we have to mention that Bron will not be playing tomorrow. So there's an asterisk to that whole starting lineup consistency thing, given the fact that it's a chance that he plays, but it's more than likely he won't. He is going to join the team in Frisco for the matchup, but the likelihood that he plays, I don't think is very good right now. And we talked about that. I'm one of those rare Laker fans in this situation with a voice that's just giving him a pass. No particular reason at all. I just feel like it. Call me being biased for no reason, but I really just am going to give him a pass. I know there's a great argument for not. You know what I mean? When it comes down to it, you should want to play for your Laker team and skip the All-Star game. But I just feel like it. Literally, it ain't deeper than that for me. I'm not trying to make an argument that he should miss the game. That's not the argument I'm trying to make. But that he chooses to, yeah, I have a gripe with that in normal situations. I'm going to choose to just opt not to. Sometimes, in situations where you know it's a lot going on, where everybody wants to pressure somebody to do a certain thing that they probably should do, sometimes it's good to just have one voice. It's just not. I let everybody else do that. I just don't feel that strongly about it. Maybe I change my mind if somebody else does it or if he does it next year. But I'm not going to sit up here and say I don't care. I'm just going to say I give him a pass. I'm giving the king a pass. And so that's it. that's my opinion. If he doesn't want to play tomorrow, I'm not gonna put any pressure on that. I would like for him to give it a go if he can. I would like for him to give it a go, and I'd like for him to consider all the voices who aren't giving him a pass because they're making a much better argument than I would try to. I just choose to. Simple as to give him that pass. So that's really what it is for me, man. I hope LeBron opts to stay. I really do. I think it'll be better for his sons in the long run if he doesn't turn his back on the Lakers and leave us with half our value exiting for him to go play in some random city. I don't think that bodes well for our relationship with Clutch. From a Jeannie standpoint, I don't think she's going to really be too pleased with that if they were to do that. I'd like that relationship to stay solid. I really would. I would like that relationship to be very strong. I know we got a chance to sign another one of their star players, possibly Trae Young. I guess that's what I could talk about because I don't think I've mentioned it very much. Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young, if I had a choice between the two of them. I've heard that argument, and a lot of people say Donovan Mitchell. I'm more of a Trae Young guy. I really am. I'm more of a Trae Young guy, but I will tell you this. My respect for Donovan Mitchell is all the way up because I've seen him perform in the playoffs at a supremely high level. Him and Jamal Murray, I will never forget that. Where they went for 50 points in a couple of games in that series about 4 or 5 years ago before Jamal got hurt. Donovan hasn't been hurt, so I can trust that he's going to stay healthy. He's not very tall, but he plays much bigger and he's a heavy dude. He's not small. So, you know, what does he run? A smooth 220 or something like that at like 6'2"? Maybe he's heavier than that, maybe. So, and he jumps out the gym, so it's not like he's going to be playing below the rim. He's already proven to be a hellified fantasy player. Just about every team I have him on in my fantasy league is in first place. And so it's like, my respect for his game is all the way in the air. It really is. And I don't know that I prefer him over Trae Young to say that I've given it too much thought. I just look at Trae Young and just have so much praise for him away from Donovan Mitchell even being considered. So I would love to have Trae Young, but if we were to get Donovan Mitchell, it would definitely make me extremely, extremely happy, man. And when it comes to fit, although I haven't given much thought to it, I think that Donovan Mitchell probably is a better fit, only because he's a bigger player in theory, could probably play better defense for you, probably more durable in some ways. But I do think Trae Young's ceiling might be a little higher. I really do think it may be a little higher. And so I'm excited about bringing either one of them in. I think they're both proven playoff performers. I think with AD and Bron next to either one of them, it probably favors to win the West. And I think that, especially the way the West is constructed right now. If we had Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young, I think we win it. I think we win the Western Conference. So that's just my personal opinion. I'm not sold on some of these Western Conference contenders. I'm really not, man. When it comes to the Clippers, you guys know I have this age-old idea that the Clippers are never going to win anything ever. I said earlier in the season that I think, or maybe about 4 weeks ago, that I think they have the best chance of winning a championship this year than they ever have in the past. This is their best chance. But when I look at the individual players that they have on their team, if I'm being completely honest with you, they've all proven, with the exception of Kawhi Leonard, they've all proven that I can't trust them in the playoffs. So if they come together, can they cancel one another out? Or are we going to see all of them fall apart at once and hope to God that Kawhi Leonard takes them to the finish line? And if that's what ends up happening, if they all fall apart at once, they're not going to win. They may be able to beat certain teams. They're going to run into somebody, and it's just not going to come together. So for me, it's like James Harden. We'll break it down. James Harden. Do I trust him in the playoffs? No. Paul George. Do I trust him in the playoffs? No. Russell Westbrook. Do I trust him in the playoffs? No. So it's like if Kawhi ain't doing it, they're going to have to step outside of their body more or less to perform in situations where they've already proven they can't be trusted. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. Like I said, maybe they cancel each other out. It's hard to defend all of them at once. But if you had a personnel, they may not show up. That's what it really comes down to. They may not show up. But Kawhi Leonard is the great equalizer because he's not of that. He's not like them. With all due respect to everybody, them Hall of Famers, Kawhi and them, there's a separation there. Once you start talking about performing and ability to win championships and ability to show up, if Kawhi's healthy, he is showing up. The question is, are they going to drag him down? Or is he going to lift them up? Or will any of that be necessary? They got to prove it. And what they've already proven is that individually, they all can disappear. They all can disappear. Joe Ingles showed me what time it was with Paul George in the playoffs. I've seen enough. That was all I needed to see. I'll never trust Paul George again in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I know how great of a player he can be in the regular season. Playoff time, nah. James Harden, I've seen him disappear multiple times when it matters the most. He does that more than he shows up. I can count on him disappearing more so than I can count on anybody else disappearing or showing up. It's James Harden having an off night in a Game 6 or a Game 7. You count on it. It's going to happen. It's what he does every year. So it's like certain things is like, okay, and Russell Westbrook, man, I'm a Laker fan, man. I watch Russell Westbrook struggle. And I have a lot of respect and like for Russell Westbrook away from the Lakers. Before he got here, loved his game everywhere he was. After he left here, I like what I saw from him in the playoffs with the Clippers. But when you're a Laker and you watch what we saw, you learn to just kind of write him off. I'm just going to be honest with you. You learn to write him off. You know that he's going to give you the ball if you're going against him. He can be the best player on the other team. When you need him not to be the most, he's going to give the ball. Like, there's certain things you can count on, like, oh, Russell Westbrook can cough the ball up. Like, we're going to get the ball back. I love playing against him when he's as a Laker now. When we go up against the Clippers, I love when he's on the floor because I know he's going to give me the ball. We're going to get in transition off a turnover. He's going to throw up some crap he has no business throwing up. It just is what it is. Even though he's a lot more steady as a Clipper than he was as a Laker, it's still Russell, man. He's still going to do stuff that just helps you. He's not a winner, man. He's just not a winner, bro. And so when you have all of that coming together, all three of these out of four superstars have that trait where they're not winners. How am I supposed to expect they come together to become a champion? I don't know how that actually works. I know it looks great on paper. All of those guys look great on paper. That's why they're going to make the Hall of Fame. But to say that trait is they're just going to cancel each other out, or are they going to prop each other up? I don't think so, man. That's not something I've ever seen before. So they would have to do something that would be unprecedented for me in order for them to win a championship. And I just don't see that. I don't see that happening. I really don't. On paper, they should win it. They probably are the best team in the Western Conference on paper. And I don't expect for them to go home in the first round or even the second round. I really don't. Unless they just get the worst matchup possible for themselves. But if it really comes down to it, am I choosing them to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy? If everything is on the line, I will not put any money on them. None of those people. None of those people. So that's just really what it comes down to, man. I just don't trust none of them, man. Kawhi Leonard's the only one I trust, and that's not a good thing because he's somebody who may not play. He just may not want to play. So when I look at that team, like, nah, I don't trust him. And I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't trust him either. I don't trust him, man. Karl Anthony Towns has that same trait. He has the same trait. He's not a winner, bro. He has the ability to score a lot, and we saw it in the All-Star game. We saw it in a 70-point game, and he lost that 70-point game. Why? Because he's not a winner. You know what I mean? So certain things, certain traits, it's just like, all right, fam. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully these guys prove me wrong for their sake. But Rudy Gobert, he's cool. Come playoff time, they're going to run into the right matchup, and they're going to lose. Anthony Edwards, he's solid superstar beyond Super Bowl. But where he's at right now, I think when it comes to playoff time and whether or not I trust him, I don't think so. Not yet. He'll get there. I believe he will get there. But I think right now people are expecting a little more from him than what I expect. Now, maybe he steps into his Michael Jordan bag this year in the playoffs and he leads his team. And if he does, he has the talent to do it. I don't want people to think that I think Ant-Man didn't have the talent to do it. Ant-Man is one of the best players in basketball. But he has yet to prove to me that he's going to play consistently enough to defeat some of these guys that are going to be going up against him in the playoffs. And because they are one ankle roll away from exposing how shallow their bench is, which is kind of shallow, I don't trust the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think I was thinking about this morning. I do think they are a contender. I'm not going to say they're a fake contender. I don't believe that. But I also don't think if it comes down to them and maybe other contenders, they're going to come out standing. I just don't think so. Maybe that equates to them being a fake contender, but I don't believe that is the case. I just don't think that they're a very strong, real contender. I don't think so. OKC, I like OKC. I like them because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is that special. Problem is, Chet Holmgren, is he ready to be who he needs to be to overcome what's coming at him? And I don't think that is yes, I don't think so. Well, Jalen Williams, is he ready to be who he's going to need to be in order to win a championship? I don't think he's there yet. I don't think so. But they have the talent and the depth to be a pro come playoff time. They definitely have the depth. And they definitely have the players to give a team like the Clippers the blues. They really do. But when it comes down to it, I just think they're just a year away or 2 years away from being that team that you say, okay, they're going to win the championship this year. Shai is there. I don't think his supporting cast is there yet. I don't think so. Now we talk about other contenders, the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are constructed to be healthy, man. This is what I want people to understand about the Phoenix Suns. If they're missing one of those three players, they're not expected to beat anybody. When all three of those guys on the floor, they should be able to beat anybody. And that's the reality of it. That's not me talking crap. That's exactly what they're constructed to be. All or nothing. Problem is, I'm never going to trust that all three of those people are going to be healthy at the same time. And to be honest with you, I think we're in a space where Kevin Durant may not affect winning. Now, the jury's still out on that. But he may not affect winning the way that he needs to get his team over the hump. Do you understand what I mean? I didn't watch him get knocked off ever since he left Golden State every year. Nobody's afraid of him. He can hit every shot, and he can get stops and get boards. But I do not fear him anymore. I just don't. I don't think he's proven that I should. And when it comes to Devin Booker, he's never won anything. He's gotten to the finals one time, so I want to give him his respect. He has gotten to the finals. But when it really comes down to it, you can crowd him out and he will tire out. That's been proven. And then Bradley Beal, I can't trust to stay healthy. So for me, Phoenix is not a real contender. But if they do find themselves healthy in the playoffs, do not be surprised if they're the team on top in the Western Conference, because that's what they're constructed to be. But their supporting cast hasn't lived up to what it needed to overall. And I don't think anybody should really be putting any money on them doing anything in the playoffs. I really don't. I don't think so. So who else is there? Dallas maybe? Dallas is a team that I like a lot for overachieving from what you expect. I like them a lot. If Luka's healthy, Kyrie's healthy, they brought in some serious reinforcements. We got to see how it shakes out. They got to stay healthy. But I think they've done enough to where they've scooted themselves into that OKC Minnesota range. I really believe that. And if they come out on top, they're probably a decent bet to do more than what people are saying they will. Just because of how well they can execute down the stretch of basketball games. That's what I see, is a team that can hit every shot down the stretch in the fourth quarter based on those two. And if they can get enough stops, for which they've brought in enough reinforcements in theory to be able to get stops and have enough spacers around those two to hit shots, they're dangerous, man. They're really dangerous. But for me, do they have enough wings to where if they go up against the Clippers and everybody's firing all cylinders, can they beat them? Luka gonna go crazy. Kyrie can go crazy. But if the other guys are going crazy, I don't know if the answer is yes. It's going, PJ Washington got to play outside of himself a little bit. Gafford's got to be 100% healthy. They got to get something out of some of these other guys. But keep in mind, when we usually see the Dallas Mavericks, or however they're constructed in whatever year, usually Tim Hardaway's not healthy. This year he is. And I think that makes a huge difference for what you would expect from them. If they're all healthy, they're probably going to upset a Minnesota. They're probably going to upset a team like OKC or the Lakers, unfortunately, my own. So it's like these are the things that I'm looking at when it comes to Dallas. They concern me a bit. Now with the reinforcements they brought in at center, power forward, yeah, they concern me a little bit. Who else? Of course, Denver. Denver, I'm telling y'all, man, Denver doesn't score enough points this season. They got some of the best scorers in the league, but after you get past those scorers, they don't really have scoring like people think, man. You cannot count on that bench at all. At all. And if you look at them, they're one of the lowest scoring teams in that top echelon of Western Conference squads. And that's the problem. That is a big problem. Now, their defense has gotten better. They're able to get stops. If you look at their defense this year, they've elevated tremendously from last year. Part of that has to do with bringing Watson in as a regular rotational player. He's a fantastic defensive player. So I like the potential of them, you know, but guys like Christian Brown, I always call him Christian Brown, but Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson, I cannot count on them to score like that. And because of it, when you look at the Denver Nuggets, you don't expect for them to walk away with more than 110 points a game. I don't think they can win a championship that way, man. They're going to have to find some scoring somewhere. I just don't think they can win a championship that way. They have the Joker. They have Murray. And if a game is close, they can obviously win it. But I'm not certain that their defense is going to elevate to a high enough space against a Clippers, against a Dallas when they're all scoring, to be able to keep up with those teams. They're going to need to be able to get stops. And I don't think their defense is as good as it's going to need to be to make up for their scoring deficiencies. They're going to need Porter to score 30 and 40 points to win. They're going to need Gordon to get to like 20, 25 points. And I just don't think in a 7-game series against a team like Minnesota, they can actually do that. Especially since Minnesota's expected to be one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the league. Although I think the Lakers can actually rival them depending on who we're using, how we use them. But Denver, I'm not going to say the Lakers can beat Denver because they've proven they can beat us. That's proven. But teams who can execute down the stretch of basketball games and teams that can more or less defend like they can to get stops against them may be able to exploit the idea that they generally don't score enough points to ultimately win the West, in my opinion. They don't score enough. They just don't. So that's what it is for Denver. It's an optical illusion because, of course, they got some of the best offensive players in the world. But as a unit, just this year, they don't score enough, y'all. They don't. And so that's what I want people to understand. I'm not confused by that. After doing homework on the Denver Nuggets, the last time we played them about 2 weeks ago, I'm like, yo, they're getting away with something. People don't even know it. And like I said, their defense is good. So if they can just continue to have that defensive identity, if they can keep the games close, keep the scores low, they're going to beat people. But as far as them being my favorite to win the West, once they start going against certain teams, yeah, they're going to knock off one of them. Then they got to go with another series. They're going to knock off another one. They're going to go through another series. The problem they're going to run into, in my opinion, is all of the teams they're going to run into are scoring teams. Their defense is going to get worn down by the fact that they're going to have to take a path going up against scorers every round. So eventually they're going to wear down. I don't trust Jamal Murray to stay that healthy. I don't trust Porter to stay that healthy. That bench, it ain't that. So that's the problem with the Denver Nuggets. They probably should have made a move at the trade deadline to bring themselves a little more scoring. They needed a Spencer Dinwiddie. You know what I'm saying? They needed a PJ Washington. And they didn't do anything about that. And I just, I won't underestimate the champs. Because last year I made that mistake with their bench being trash. And they still won a championship. But this is a different West. This is a different West, man. That's what I'm telling people. This is a different West. And they ran into a hobbled path. Every one of the teams they beat in the Western Conference was hurting, including us with Bron and AD and their foot injuries, and D'Lo with his foot injury that nobody remembers he had. So no, they were legitimate champions. But I could argue if they ran into all them healthy teams, their bench probably would have been exposed. If they would have had some injury issues, they would have been exposed. They had a very favorable path, and I do not think they're going to have that this year. They're going to miss Bruce Brown, too. Believe that. So, like, these are things we talking about, man. So, as a Laker fan, if we get the right path, we can get through the West. So long as we can get people healthy and we don't do the wrong things within ourselves to bite ourselves in the back. That's what it really comes down to. If we don't self-implode, we have the personnel to, if we get the right path, get through the West. Because a lot of these teams that are supposed to be contenders, they don't want to see AD and Bron in a 7-game series. They don't. That doesn't mean they won't beat us. It just means that they would prefer to avoid us. Probably more so than we would prefer to avoid them. Minnesota do not want to play us. They don't. OKC does not want to play us. They don't. Phoenix does not want to play us. They do not. You see what I'm saying? Now, there's a dark horse team that I'd like to throw in there, although it's probably 2. But there's a dark horse team that I'm going to throw in there, and it's going to shock some people. The Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors. They've been here too many times. They got rookies who make up their bench that can elevate to a high level. They got the Kuminga factor, who's never been a player at all in this situation. You've never seen him in a playoff situation, but he's already been in many of them because he's been on this team. He won a championship already. He's ready to take a step forward. You got to account for him, and he's going to make up for whoever's washed. If it's washed Clay or hurt Dre, you got to deal with 30-point Kuminga in the playoffs. Steph Curry healthy can do the impossible. And with everything this team has been through, I wouldn't be surprised if they fall off and don't make the playoffs at all. I also wouldn't be overly surprised if they win the NBA championship, because they really do have a stronger bench right now and a bunch of players who've sucked all year long who I don't expect to suck in the second half of the season, like Wiggins and Clay. I don't expect that. I don't expect Clay to play as bad at the second half of the season as he did in the first. Gary Payton getting healthier is a dangerous thing. Even though I don't expect him to be the same guy, it doesn't mean he can't lock people down just the same. He probably can. And so these are things that we think about. It's like, yo, the Golden State Warriors, like I said, they get teeter between being horrible and being great. But because Steph Curry is healthy, I'm never going to write them off, especially since I think their bench is better than some of these teams' benches we just mentioned. It just is. Podziemski, Wiggins, Dre, Clay, Steph, who else? There's a few other guys too. Moody, old reliable center. I can't think of his name, but that dude that they always have played for UCLA that never misses games. I always forget his name, but he never misses no games. You can always count on him to elevate his game to a high level. We've seen him do it. When they won a championship, dude was getting like 20 rebounds a game. You can forget all about him, and then he does something like that in the playoffs because he's an old, reliable NBA champion several times over. So it's like, with the Golden State Warriors, I personally think they're stronger right now than they were last year when the Lakers knocked them off. They're just in disarray. They got some chemistry issues. Steve Kerr and his rotations are a little funny at times, and it cost them some regular season games. Do not be surprised if they're clicking at the right time. They concern me. You don't want to see them if you're a 1 seed. If they're the 8th seed, you don't want to see them. So I don't want anybody to get twisted. Those rookies are going to get better. Trace Jackson Davis, these guys can hurt you. I'm telling you. Do not write the Golden State Warriors off unless they, like the Lakers, self-implode. And they can. They can definitely do that. And then I look at a team like the Rockets. I don't know if they're, they may be falling off a little bit, but I do think that they have players that can elevate. They also have guys that are really, really, really talented. I just don't think they know exactly what to do yet. They're too young. As a unit, they still rely upon guys. They probably should be scooting to the back of the bench so they can play the young guys a little more. So I just don't trust them this year. Not at all. But it doesn't mean they don't have the talent to be good. They do have that talent to be really good. And another team is the Sacramento Kings, who I know can score a lot of points. They can also execute very well. They also have high-level stars, a solid bench, but not as solid as it was last year, I don't believe. But they do use a lot of players, as we know. Sacramento has a formula where they use like 20 guys a season, and that can keep their stars fresh. And so with De'Aaron Fox getting better, Sabonis being a bona fide snub in the All-Star game, probably with a chip on his shoulder, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a late push to get a little better. I don't know where they are in the standings right now. I haven't even glanced at them, but they do have some guys that I think can be a problem in a very, very serious way. So those are the teams that come to mind, man. I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but those contenders. They don't. When you really start talking about contenders, they got a lot to prove. Minnesota, OKC, they got a lot to prove. Phoenix, they got a lot to prove. I'm not sold on these guys. Clippers, they're not. None of these teams have proven to me that they can do anything. Never. The Lakers have. The Warriors have. And if those are the two teams in the end that are still standing, it won't be me surprised by that. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.